Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the first meeting of LD13 officially. And we do have our speakers tonight, which is part of our education to you as voters, as PCs, as members of the district. We want to make sure that you know who is running, that you are comfortable with what they are running for. And of course, where we have a primary, which will be on August 2nd. Then at that point, if it's a contested race, you will know who you will see on the ballot to make a decision for going into the general election. So we are going to have elections this year, all the way from U.S. House to state seats, to Chandler seats, to district seats, to school board seats. So we're going to try and offer you as many of those candidates who are running. You may not all be able to vote for them depending upon where you live, because again, our elections are dependent upon whether you reside in a district, legislative or congressional, or whether you live in a city versus another city, or a school district versus another school district. So it will be important for you to pay attention to who these people are, where you will be asked to vote for them, and if they are not someplace where you can vote for them, if we've overlooked any candidate that you're aware of, please let us know. So with that, we're going to get started with our speakers. I'm just going to give a couple of housekeeping information for you as attendees, as well as for our speakers. First and foremost is, again, please mute yourself if you are not speaking. Our speakers will speak for their allotted time, and then they also have time to take questions. I would ask you, if you have a question for the candidate speaking, that you put it in the chat. That's the little balloon box, and my screen is down at the bottom. Some places it might be on other areas of your screen. But if you will type in that question, then at the end of the speaker's presentation, we'll go through those questions. If there are similar ones, then we'll weed it down to just getting to the most critical one or two. And a lot of times our speakers stay on, and they're welcome to interact with you in the chat while we move on to other people that are speaking. So for our speakers, I want to make sure that you see Monroe Copeland's screen or box. Monroe, there you go, with a thank you. Monroe is our timekeeper. So again, we're going to try and keep politicians on time in their speaking so that we can get through the meeting and we don't keep you until midnight. So Monroe will be keeping you apprised of how you're running on time. So please respect and keep him in view so that, again, we can move forward and get everybody on. So with that, we're going to start with our first speaker, and that is the U.S. Congressional CD5 race that we have. Many of you, I think, are going to be all in CD5, currently represented by Andy Biggs. Okay, so if you know that name, then you're in CD5. He is still going to be running again. It's a House position. Those come up every 2 years. So again, we will be electing that position for another 2-year stint. We have a Democratic candidate that is running for US 5, CD5, and that is Javier Ramos. Javier, I'm going to let you, since we have a little time, I will let you give your background, but Javier also ran last time for the US House in this district, and so he is going to do it again. He likes punishment, and so he's going to grace us with his candidacy. This time you will see his name on the ballot for both the primary and then, of course, going into the general. I don't know that there is a lot of Democratic candidates at this particular position right now. I don't know if any of the other ones that were on the potential filing made their signature races. So Javier, it's all yours.
Thank you, Carol. You took away all my thunder. Well, I'm very excited, everyone. And I met with you, a lot of individuals from Chandler and Legislative District 13. Real quickly, I'm gonna introduce myself and then I'll tell you what our map is and what my plan is to win this race. First of all, I'm really excited. About 3 weeks ago, I became excited about this race. Well, a lot of you know, my name is Javier Garcia Ramos. Real quickly, I was born and raised here in a small town on the far West Valley. I live currently in Queen Creek, Arizona. I'm an attorney for Gila River Indian community. My legal experience has ranged from working for Janet Napolitano. My first job out of law school was child support enforcement for 2 years under Janet Napolitano. Then I moved to Gila River Indian community onto the Navajo Nation, both in Window Rock and in Washington, D.C. I was the legislative director for the Navajo Nation Washington office for 7 years. I was able to work in DC and also the United Nations in Geneva, Switzerland, many a times advocating on behalf of the Navajo Nation, the draft declaration of the rights of indigenous peoples. I also was in private practice at Sachs Tierney, which is a law firm out of Scottsdale. One of my biggest cases was representing the Navajo Nation when voter ID laws started coming across the state of Arizona, requiring everybody to show 2 forms of ID. The Navajo Nation, we had a lot of citizens on the Navajo Nation who did not have any form of tribal ID. My main plaintiff her name was Agnes Laughter. She passed away about 10 years ago. She was born at home in Chimpoto, Arizona on the reservation, did not have a birth certificate, did not have a social security card, did not have a driver's license, but she always walked her way to the polls, figured out a way to get to the polls. When voter ID laws came across, she was prevented from voting at her chapter house on the Navajo reservation. So we took up her case at Sachs Tierney. I was one of the lead attorneys, and we filed a federal action against the state of Arizona. I was able to settle it by requiring the state of Arizona to accept any form of tribal ID. So basically, it allowed Agnes Laughter just to have any piece of paper from the tribal chapter house who knew her, and she was allowed to vote. So now every time you go to vote, you'll see the different categories of voter IDs. You'll see the state required IDs, but you'll also see tribal member IDs. And that was because something I was responsible for, was able to resolve that on behalf of the Navajo Nation. So that's one of my biggest cases that I've done. 3 quick things that I'm really involved with is water. I want to really secure a 100-year water supply for our cities and states. As you know, every subdivision in the state of Arizona requires a 100-year water supply in order to build their subdivision. The Colorado River is over appropriated, over allocated. We do not have a 100-year water supply for our future generation. It's finally coming to pass that people are starting to talk about it. I've been talking about it all my life. When I was 14 years old, the science teacher at my Underdown Junior High indicated, Javier, by the year 2025, you guys are going to run out of water here in Arizona. So it's something I was one of the attorneys that signed the drought contingency plan at the Hoover Dam at Lake Mead in 2019, which authorized certain drought contingency plans. We are in tier 1 drought stages. Pinal County farmers are getting there first. They have to reduce their water allocations. The other thing I want to work on are voter protection issues and equity issues. I'm a Medicare for All believer. I also support reparations for African Americans. I'm big on infrastructure. You've probably seen a lot of news lately, especially with Mark Kelly and Senator Christian Sinema indicating that the I-10 widening project, they're federally funding the I-10 between Ahwatukee and Casa Grande. I'm the lead attorney who's working on that project with ADOT and Maricopa Association of Governments, MAG. I'm the one who is gonna work with the tribe, Gila River, and ADOT and MAG to widen out the 3 lanes. I've got the authorizations and we got the federal funding now to start working on this project. It's gonna be by 2025 that this is gonna be done. The other thing I wanna do is fully fund our airports. We have 4 airports within our district. Everybody in Chandler is close to Chandler Regional Airport. I'm close to Mesa Gateway Airport. Mesa Gateway Airport is known as Skybridge. It's the international hub of commerce between Mexico, United States, and Canada. It's gonna do a 1-day turnaround for commerce. And I really want to fund that. I want to get on the Appropriations Committee if I'm elected to Congress, and Appropriations Committee so we can fully fund our infrastructure in the East Valley. Now I'll tell you where our district is at. CD5 has changed. It is now encompasses Maricopa County and Pinal County. For Chandler, on the south, it's Hunt Highway. On the east, on the west, it's Old Price Road. And on the north, it is the 202 South Mountain Freeway, the 202 Price Freeway. So that's the boundaries: Old Price Road, Hunt Highway, and the 202 freeway. And we moved the boundary, or Independent Redistricting Commission moved the boundary from Power Road and Mesa to Stapley to Power Road. It encompasses Apache Junction, and it encompasses all of Santan Valley. I'm going to tell you a little bit. The requirement to get on the ballot was 1,563 signatures. By myself, I was able to gather 2,752 signatures. Everybody has 10 days to file actions. It expires, I believe, on Easter Sunday. And I have a little over 1,200 signatures that's required. So as Carol Moss indicated, I am the Democratic candidate, the only one who submitted their signatures. I will be on the ballot for August 2nd, and then move on to November 8th. And it's going to be a three-way race. And this is what I believe is the key. Right now, it's an 18% Republican leaning district, 18%. If it was just Andy Biggs and myself, we lose 10 out of 10 times. There's a Republican independent by the name of Clint Smith. I congratulated him this morning at 8 o'clock. I told him, Clint, congratulations, you got your signatures. He's on the ballot, a Republican turned independent. I'm looking at the numbers for Maricopa County and Pinal County. If I can split the other vote, which is independent and other votes, 40% of those votes, or split it 50-50 with Clint Smith, we win this race. It's a numbers game. So what I need from the Democrats is to vote Democrat, to vote Democrat, to vote Democrat, and we get Andy Biggs out of here. So thank you so much. And I was at the Apache Junction function yesterday. So my method is hard work. I'm unorthodox, and I'm not beholden to anybody. I do what I think is appropriate, and I get things done. And I'm really excited about this race. Just one last thing. The polls today, the national polls have indicated CD5 as a strong red district. They have given the Democrat, me, a 1.7% chance of winning. They have given Andy Biggs 98.3% chance winning. That's of today. We're going to follow this, and you're going to see some movement. So thank you so much.
Yeah, 2 minutes.
Nope, I'm done.
All right.
Thank you so much, Monroe. Oh, Eric Butler, congratulations on losing your 30 pounds, I believe. I've lost 3 pounds, and I gained 2 back. So I'm still ahead by 1. Congratulations, Eric.
Okay, we have a couple of questions for Javier. One question in the chat is, will there be sufficient rail built into the project to include commuter rail?
That came up several years back. We are not going to have a rail commuter going through at this time. It was a concept between connecting Phoenix and Tucson. That is not going to happen through the I-10 corridor. It may happen east of the Gila River Indian Community, may happen, and that's if they don't change, they may or may not change, but that is not on the infrastructure portion. We are going to have other things, but that is not going to go through right now. There is no discussion for rail at this point.
Okay, and then another question. What is your stance on the filibuster, which roadblocks passing voter rights and putting Arizona in the urgent situation that we're in? So what is your stance on the filibuster? And then what is your stance on expanding the Supreme Court?
Filibuster, as we all know through civic classes, filibuster is something that our founding fathers did and that every senator had, and they spoke for weeks at end to stop any bill, and every senator has that power. I think the filibuster is dead. We don't need it anymore. We elected our officials, we elected our senators to do a job. We didn't elect them to maintain their job and keep their job. We need to keep moving our democratic values and principles forward. We need to get rid of the filibuster, even if it hurts us. And 2 years from now, we elected our Democratic representatives and senators to do a certain job, and the filibuster is just an excuse to get in the way of what we need to get done. So I don't believe in the filibuster.
Okay, and what about the expansion of the Supreme Court?
Okay, I'm sorry, and it's a one person, one vote concept. We should not have one senator having more power over 100 senators. That goes totally contrary to American democracy of one person, one vote. So a filibuster creates more power within one senator, and I don't believe that's the proper way to go. On expanding the Supreme Court, it's done over time. I wouldn't expand it. I wouldn't expand it because then what I do right now is I do a lot of constitutional law, a lot of elections law. I know how to play the game as a lawyer. I know how to do the legal gymnastics. I would not want to do that because we do have a lot of lawyers in DC who are just going to play the legal gymnastics. And they've done it before, not only at the United States Supreme Court, they've done it at the Arizona State Supreme Court to move forward with a certain policy of progress. We shouldn't be doing that. We shouldn't be playing games with our United States Supreme Court or our Constitution just to get certain bills passed or pack the court, as it's called. I don't believe we should be doing that.
Okay. All right. So
unless I really do appreciate those questions, and you can learn a lot about me. And I give my phone number out to anybody. And my goal is to have a political discourse with everybody that I meet one-on-one. I really believe, not to give you lip service, that our political discourse is dying out in the street. When I go to the Queen Creek Library, when I go to the farmers markets, our political discourse is dying. When that is dead, our republic is dead. And I've only had one Republican who did a dismissive hand gesture, walked away from me and said, "Get away from me, Democrat," walked into the Queen Creek Library, came back out and apologized. And he said, not in 100 years, he thought he would be like that. Why are Americans feeling that they have the ability just to put other Americans down? It makes no sense to me. And people say, you need to have a thick skin, Javier. They tell me, get a thick skin. You need to stop being sensitive. I don't want to get a thick skin. I want to be sensitive. I want to have a thin skin so I can feel everybody. We're all Americans. We shouldn't be putting people down. And that's why I blow people away with my story, because people look at me in my own neighborhood in Creek Creek, say, "Get out of here. You don't belong here," when I get signatures. And it gets tiring, but people have to realize we're human beings. We got to treat people with respect. And it makes no sense to me. The situation, kindness matters. I believe that. And it's flabbergasting what I hear out there. It's young kids tell me, why would I want to give blacks the same rights as me? That takes rights away from me. And I can't believe the stuff I hear out there and from my own neighborhood. So I'm tired of it. And this is what I do. And this country belongs to me. I'm an American Democrat. And the Republicans say, what the hell does American Democrat mean? It means I'm not a Russian Republican. I'm American Democrat. And it belongs to me. This country belongs to me. And so nobody owns me. I do whatever I want to do. I'm out there. Everybody's besides themselves that I don't accept any money. I don't need, you know what? I can raise $300,000. Why do I want to waste your people's money? Give it to St. Vincent de Paul where it makes a difference. Stop giving it to, you all can get money, accept money and everything else. That's totally fine. But we should not be subsidizing politicians if they don't subsidize human beings. And I really believe this. I owe nobody any favors. I can do whatever I want to do and nobody owns me. So thank you so much.
All right. We do have one more question. So if you could be short on that one, then we'll finish that off. Okay. What's your opinion on term limits for Congress and Senate?
I'm a political science major. I'll try to be real quick. We're taught everything that term limits is at the ballot box. And this is what politicians tell you all the time. Oh, we already have term limits. It's at the ballot box. You can get voted out. Money buys elections. Andy Biggs has said he believes in term limits. 10 years is the maximum that any congressman should do because money buys politics. Andy Biggs has $1.6 million right now. You really believe that he means this? Money buys terms. Money buys politics. Money buys elections. I believe in term limits. Mandated term limits, not at the ballot box, but constitutional amendments, state legislative passing. We need to stop this where the rich person, it's not a rich person's game. It belongs to all of us. Rich people run our American democracy. And once Republican Democrats understand this, we have a lot more power. I believe in term limits. For Congress, say it's four terms, that's 8 years. For senators, that's 6 years, the 2 terms. You're done, you're out. It's a citizenship, it's a citizen democracy. It's not a politician democracy. I believe in constitutionally mandated term limits or state passed term limits. Thank you so much, Carol.
Okay, thank you, Javier. Thank you very much. So now we're going to move on. We've talked about the U.S. Congress race for CD5. Now we're going to bring it down to the legislative district level. And so with that, we're going to introduce to you our representative in the House, Jennifer Pawlik, who is serving her second term. Is that correct?
Yes,
Second
that is
term?
correct.
Yep. And will be running for her third term under LD13. And Jennifer is down at the House every day, working hard on many different things. And so tonight, Jennifer is going to give us a little update on what is currently happening right now. We know a number of bills have been passed. Some are still in the wings. And so she'll bring us up to date on that, plus also her campaign. So Jennifer, you have 10 minutes.
Thanks very much, Carol. So if anybody's new on the call, I am State Representative Jennifer Pawlik, and my background is in education. I taught kindergarten through 6th grade for 17 years before running for office. And now I teach part-time for NAU in their teacher prep program only in the fall, because in the spring I'm down at the legislature. I'm serving as the ranking member on House Education, which means the lead Democrat on that committee. And I'm also a member of the Judiciary Committee. Gary did a really good job talking about some of the big bills that we've been dealing with the last couple of weeks. So I wanted to make sure that I brought to your attention one other bill. It's Senate Bill 1269. And this was a striker. And what a striker is you take the language of the original bill, essentially you strike it and put new language on. So we saw the language to this bill on a Thursday night, and then it had a committee hearing Monday morning. The striker was 101 pages long, and it's a really complicated overhaul of the school finance system. But what is really alarming is that it seems to have been created kind of in the dark of night. The school finance experts who've been working on school funding formulas for years were not consulted. So it is very concerning. The other part you need to know is that in the hearing, 3 people were allowed to speak for the bill, 3 people against the bill, and each person was allowed only 2 minutes time. So all in all, with questions from those on the committee, 1 hour was given to that bill. I'm hopeful that there are members of the majority who will be opposed to the bill because it is such a huge change. I do believe that we need a change in the way we fund our schools, but I think that it needs to be a transparent process with lots of stakeholders involved, and this was not done correctly. I also wanted to let you know something good. One of my bills is still moving, and it's House Bill 2639. That's the bill that would make May AAPI month, which is Asian American Pacific Islander month. And that's a bill idea that came from people who live right here in Chandler. So that is ready to go. It's waiting for a vote on the Senate floor. So hopefully next month we will be able to celebrate that May is AAPI month in Arizona. I also wanted to let you know that yesterday I was able to turn in 1,660 signatures, and in this district we needed 469. So thank you so much for taking the time to sign either on equal or on paper. And if you are one of the many people who collected signatures at doors or drove people to collect signatures at doors, I am so grateful for your help. So now at the legislature, we are going into this really aggravating, slow time because all of our normal hearings are over. So now we are waiting for meetings on the budget to happen. We are also hearing that there may be a special session, number one, for the repeal and replace of the taxes. You'll remember last year there was a big tax cut, and they want to repeal that and replace it with a greater tax cut. We're also hearing that there may be a special session regarding water. And one thing that I can say about the water is we have been having lots of meetings. We've had a couple of meetings that were just the Democrats with our policy advisor. We've had meetings with stakeholders who work in water. And then we've had 2 meetings that were bipartisan where we met on the floor of the House and the officials from ADWR, which is a water body in Arizona, available to answer any of our questions. So I feel like we've had more conversation with water than we've had with school funding. And if we have a special session, I won't be shocked, but it will be a huge change to the way that we do water in Arizona. And then as far as the campaign goes, we are now moving into phase 2 of the campaign now that the signatures have been turned in. And our job now is to get out and talk to as many voters as possible so we can ensure that they will vote in the midterm election. What we find during these non-presidential years is a lot of people don't vote. And if we look at history back in 2018, in our district, only about 60% of registered voters voted. And then if we go back to 2014, only 43% of the people in this district voted. We have to ensure that that number is higher. So if you are willing to come knock doors with me, if you could put your email in the chat, that would be wonderful. I'll reach out to you and let you know when we are going to doors. It also would be really helpful to me if you know people in the neighborhood. They might not be Democrats, they might be independents, or they might be reasonable Republicans. I would absolutely love it if you would gather some people together at your house. We could sit outside on the patio, have coffee and chit chat about things so more people can get to know me and know where I stand on the issues. And then last of all, if you are able to make a contribution to the campaign, that would be very helpful. We're looking at opening a campaign office in the next month or so. And what we found over the last couple of years is when we have a physical location, people come out. They're more apt to get involved. So that's why we think that that is very, very important. Our race here in District 13, both Senate and House, is considered one of the most competitive in the state. So there will be lots of eyes on our races. There will be lots of hands getting involved. And we hope that you will be one of those. So I'll go ahead and stop there. And if anybody has questions, I am happy to try to answer them.
Okay, I am looking to see if we have any questions for you, Jennifer, and right now I'm not seeing any in the chat. Does anybody, before we let Representative Pawlik take off, do you have a question you'd be willing to raise your hand and just ask if you're not putting it in the chat?
Looks like Gary has a question, and then maybe
Okay.
Laura.
And Laura, yes. Okay, so Gary, let's go with you, and then Laura will follow up with you.
Gary, you're on mute. Gary,
You're on mute, Dave.
there you go.
Jennifer, do you have an idea of who's going to, Republican candidates will be for in the legislature in LD13?
I do. Do you want me to say their names?
Sure.
Liz Harris,
Really?
Julie Willoughby, Don Mays, Ron Hardin, and Joshua Askey.
Wow.
Yes.
Loser.
So I'll face the top 2 in November, and they have to fight amongst themselves for the August primary.
And 2 of them have already run before.
Correct.
Correct. Yeah. So,
Okay, and then Laura, what is your question if you'd like to ask Representative Pawlik?
How do you think schools can be adequately funded in Arizona? You know, we have grandchildren in Chandler schools, and so we've watched the kids actually go out and campaign themselves for adequate funding, and it just seems to be, you know, they make a little progress and then it goes backwards. So what are your ideas on that?
Well, I think the key is that we've got to flip the legislature, because as it is, there was a great article in today's Arizona Republic. I don't know if you saw it, but over the last decade or so, education funding has increased in Arizona through Prop 123 and oh goodness, and then the 20 by 20 plan. However, when we look at the per pupil funding, it's only increased 5% in the last 14 years. So it's critical that we're putting more money in, but we need to target that, because we need to make sure that our teachers are qualified, experienced people to work with the kids where they are. So some kids need remediation and some kids need challenges, and well-trained teachers will know how to do that. We also need to make sure that they have access to the books and materials that they need for their modern standards. So we have to make sure that that is available. And right now it seems like what we're doing, instead of focusing on the needs of our schools, we're making it harder for teachers to teach by putting in rules that break the trust between the students and the teachers. We're banning books, we're doing all of this garbage. So there are key things that we need to do, but it all does come down to, we have got to flip this legislature. I hope that helps. Okay, well, thank you, everybody, and I'll put links in the chat.
Okay, thank you so much, Representative Pawlik. And now we're going to go to the local level. Now, LD13 comprises itself with Chandler, with Gilbert, Sun Lakes. We're going to talk now at the local level, Chandler, and we have a current city council member here tonight to just update us on what is going on with the Chandler City Council, and that is Councilman Odie Harris. Odie, you have 5 minutes. Watch Monroe, and if anyone has a question for Odie, please put it in the chat and we'll try and get to that after he has spoken. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you so much. 5 minutes is like not enough time for us great people who serve the people. But I will share this. There's a couple of things, as you guys know. There were myself and a few of my other, and Matt Orlando, as well as a few other the council members recently went to Washington, D.C. And there we had an opportunity to meet with Senator Mark Kelly, as well as be in the room with Christine Sinema. And also we were able to meet with our local federal representatives, Greg Stanton as well. And so we were able to talk to them and just really advocate on behalf of the city of Chandler for transportation and transit. We talked about water today. So that was something that was a big thing that we advocated on, having a healthy Colorado River. We also advocated on behalf of trying to have great transportation transit. As you guys know, the city of Chandler is out of the transportation committee. We will now have this, we're going to be starting this new transportation in South Chandler called Flex Transit, which is going to allow people to move a little bit around the southern part of Chandler. As you guys know, that the southern part of Chandler does not have all the regular movement of transit that North Chandler has due to lack of density, I would say. But also we also went down there to advocate. We talked about the CHIP Act. As you guys know, Intel is here. CHIP Act is very, very important. There's 150 billion reasons why we need the CHIP Act to really go through on the federal level. And most of those dollars, from our understanding, will be coming to the city of Chandler. So that's pretty awesome. So we're really excited about that. I will also say to you guys too, is that I had an awesome opportunity to go to Chandler Gilbert Community College. As you guys know, Intel, there's been this divided, well, I will say this pipeline that was missing from getting our students from high school into a professional career job in the city of Chandler. And I'm glad to let you guys know that Chandler Gilbert Community College is the training ground now, and they are now that pipeline for our students to get into Intel. Now, the cool thing about it is that they offer, if you are a technician, you can go work for Intel. But how do you become a technician? Well, you go through the Chandler Gilbert Community College. It's a 40-hour program. From that program, you'll get trained to become a technician. Then you'll have a direct pipeline into Intel. And currently, right now, they're filled based on their capacity, 203 people. And I recently had a meeting with Mayor and Dr. Greg Peterson. We had a good conversation about the Promise program and how the city of Chandler and council can partner to actually have a good Promise program in the city of Chandler, so that way our students can have that pipeline into a professional career job. And I'm really proud to let you guys know that's the type of work that we are doing. Some of the other issues that we've had, and I think that we've dealt with it pretty well, myself as well as Council Member Matt Orlando, we met with 3 HOAs towards the southern part of Chandler due to the casino coming, and we had some really productive meetings in those conversations. And I will say that the city council, us as a whole, we did not know about the casino. We found out just like many of you all found out through a news release.
1 minute remaining, please.
Huh?
1 minute remaining. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So we found out, like many of you all may have found out from a news release, but I will say that we have really came together and really went and had those difficult conversations down in the southern parts of our HOA. And I'm really proud of the work that we've done. Although it's been a lot of different conversations, but I just want to let you guys know that we're continuing to work on those issues that impacts our southern residents, and we're continuing to do the work that needs to be done. So I'm very proud of that. With that being said, I'll yield my time so that way there can be questions if there's any.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Harris. Any questions for OD? And I'm not seeing any in the chat. If you do think of something, please put it in the chat. OD, you'll be around for a little bit, right?
Yeah, I will. Go ahead and put it in the chat, you guys. I was just playing around. I do want to hear from you.
I know you do. You're a great public servant. So thank you again.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. All right. So continuing to stay at the local level with the Chandler City Council, there will be a city council race in Chandler. And we have 3 of the candidates who will be running for the council seat coming up, which will be the first opportunity for that election will be in August. So tonight we have Jane Poston, Angel Encinas, and Matt Orlando, who are here to talk to us tonight. Tell us a little bit about yourself, any differentiation that the voters should know as to why they should vote for you when that ballot comes their way, and anything you would like them to know. So we're going to start with Jane Poston. I'm going to give you roughly about 3 to 4 minutes since we have so many. So Jane, if you would take it away, and we'll ask for questions in the chat.
Right. Well, first off, thank you for letting me join your meeting tonight. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak. And I'm very excited to also have my other colleagues that are running in this race on this chat. We have been working together, not really as a slate, but definitely trying to be very collegiate and assist each other where we can. So we've appreciated that partnership between Angel and Matt, and OD has been helpful as well. So thank you very much. Just a little about myself. I have lived in Arizona since I was about 12 years old, and I grew up in Mesa and have lived in Chandler for about 13 years. I actually put my kids in Chandler schools before I even lived here because I knew it was an amazing place to live. And I have my small business here. I'm a volunteer here, all of those things. So I think Chandler is fantastic. I think it's great. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing all of those things here, but I just think I can contribute in terms of all of the things that are facing our city in the future. You know, we're looking at a city that is facing build out and that is moving from all of that new growth into the older growth. And so I really just want to be a contributor to that. Like I said, I own a small business in Chandler. It's a video production, marketing, communications. I own that with my husband. We celebrate 22 years in business this Thursday, so we're pretty excited about that. And through my business, just through my personal, efforts and through my business, I think we've worked with almost every volunteer or every nonprofit organization in Chandler. I really love what was said earlier about, you know, let's not just give our money to people, let's give it to those nonprofits that can do things, and that kind of speaks to my heart as well. In terms of the race, really, I am also a former city employee. And so I think I have a unique perspective. I actually work with mayor and council, economic development, basically every department in communicating the things that Chandler was doing to the residents. Transparency was important, communication was important. Those kinds of things continue to be near and dear to my heart. So being out there and speaking to people and communicating with people, even or especially those people that maybe think differently than I do. Again, agreed on what was said earlier on, we are unfortunately sort of a divided world, but I think there is so much more that brings us together that we can agree on than what separates us. So, you know, in a nonpartisan race, we have a little more opportunity to have some of those discussions, I think. But I think it's really important, again, that idea of being kind. In terms of some of the things, thank you. In terms of some of the current issues, one of the things that I did, I'm the former chair of the Chandler Chamber of Commerce, have been actively supporting the non-discrimination ordinance through my business, through my work there. We as the chamber were very active in trying to get the city to take that issue up. We're still working on that and hope that passes. And then finally, I'm just committed to government transparency and communication and being open and discussing with anyone who would like to talk about any of the issues that Chandler faces in the future. I'd love to have that conversation. My website is janeposton.com, pretty easy. It's all of my social media as well. Like most people, I've turned in my signatures and moved on to the fundraising and communicating and walking those neighborhoods. So I just appreciate your support or any questions or any opportunities to speak to any groups out there. So from there, I'd take any questions if you like, or pass it on to some of the other candidates who I'm sure are anxious to speak.
Okay, well, you addressed the one question, Jane, and that was, again, and we'll ask this of the other two candidates again, the views on the non-discrimination ordinance in Chandler. So I think you have given us your support.
Yes,
to
absolutely.
See something going on that one. So
yes, no, thank you, Carol.
Okay. All right, next we're going to go to Angel Encinas, who is going to be also a candidate and I believe has turned in his paperwork as well. So Angel, I'll let you address the non-discrimination ordinance and anything else you wish.
Awesome, thank you, Carol. Thank you, LD13, for the opportunity to be here today. As Carol mentioned, I have submitted my signatures. I've officially filed yesterday. We're extremely excited. My team has been very hard at work to get us to this point. And like Jane said, we're on to the next phase of our campaign. I want to congratulate all the other candidates who have gotten to this point as well. For those of you who do not know me here in LD13 yet, my name is Angel Encinas. I'm a homegrown Chandler resident. I've been here my entire life. I grew up here in the heart of downtown Chandler. I'm a product of these Chandler schools, anywhere from San Marcos, graduated from Chandler High School. I continue to live here in downtown Chandler, and I operate my business out of downtown Chandler as well. My business and my career is what kind of led me to the decision of running for city council. I do immigration consulting, which I do all the advisement, document preparation, help people legalize here in the United States. That's anything from DACA to residency to my favorite, which is helping people become American citizens. And this type of work that I've been doing for the last 7 to 8 years has been very rewarding for me. that I wanted to do it on a larger scale, and I wanted to help and make a difference, and why not in my own community? That's what led me to run for city council, and I'm wanting to bring some more greater representation to our council that truly reflects the needs of our communities and the voices of our communities. I'm wanting to be that representation in the sense as someone who, again, is born or raised here in Chandler their entire lives. It's someone who's part of the Latino community, someone who's a member of the LGBT community, someone who's a business owner, and just someone who cares about Chandler overall. So I'm wanting to bring that representation. I'm also wanting to focus on my top issues of neighborhood reinvestment, the traditional neighborhoods that I grew up in that helped build this city, working with our public safety and ensuring that they have the resources they need to continue funding and increasing their team as our city continues to build in popularity. As people continue to move here, we need to maintain that level of safety here in Chandler, as well as small businesses, as we can help support our businesses grow here in Chandler so they stay here in Chandler and continue to thrive here in Chandler as well. You can find more information. I'll put my website in here. It's angelforchandler.com. You can find all my social medias, my Facebook, my Instagram as well, to keep up with us. Like I said, I do want to thank everybody in LD13 who has helped me get my signatures. You guys have been a great support system during this time. I do want to invite you guys out to volunteer, a text bank, or be part of any of the opportunities that we have coming up. I do want to share here, I think if I can share my screen, I do want to invite you guys out to an event this weekend. We do have the Chandler Family Bike Ride that you guys would like to be a part of. And I'm also going to be having, one second. Let me share this here with you guys.
We have 1 minute remaining.
Okay. Are you guys able to see this by chance?
No.
Ah,
Sorry, I was on mute. Sheldon or Shay, can you allow screen sharing for Angel?
Yes, he should be able to share a screen now.
Okay, thank
are you
you.
guys able to see this announcement?
Not yet.
Ah,
I did see you're a co-host now, but so.
apologies. Let me see here. Okay, this might be a difficulty on my end here.
Okay.
But I do want to invite you guys out to a canvas barbecue that I'm having right here in downtown Chandler at the San Marcos Park, which is on Fry Road, next to fire station number 8. We're going to be canvassing, getting volunteers and hitting this downtown area, dropping literature, having a barbecue from 12 to 2. I'll make sure the LD emails this out to everybody. So I'd like you guys to participate. And again, thank you guys so much for the opportunity of speaking here tonight. I look forward to meeting all you guys one day in person if I haven't already seen you out at certain events. So thank you so much for your time today.
Okay, thank you, Angel. And if you have a website or someplace where that flyer can be seen, post that in the chat. Okay. All right, and now we're going to go on to Matt Orlando, who is a current Chandler City Council person and is running for re-election. So Matt, I'll let you take it away and watch Monroe for the time consideration.
I'm always watching Monroe with the time. I beat him every time, right, Monroe?
Right.
No, so for those who don't know me, I'm Matt Orlando. And for 20 years, I've served on this city council. Through the 90s, we were the fastest growing community in the nation 3 years in a row. I served on when we had the Great Recession of 2008 and 10. And I also served through the COVID. Those unique experiences were extremely difficult for all of us, but yet we weathered them. My experience in being in the military, corporate America, and quite frankly, being a dad and having compassion has led me through those tough times. I have 4 tenets when I ran back in 1990. One was to continue to build a better quality of life for all of us. Number 2, to develop strong, smart growth policies. Number 3, to have clean, safe neighborhoods, and to provide open, transparent communication. I've been elected 5 times in this community, so I hope I've lived up to those 4 tenets. I want to continue serving you because I think it's important with our public safety. We are behind in our police officers and firefighters. And as with Councilmember Harris, last year I led the fight to hire additional police officers, and we'll continue hiring in support services. This year, I'm happy to announce that we will be having a behavioral health police force, actually 5 officers that'll be able to go into an area and deconflict a situation. So we're excited about that. We're hiring additional support staff as well. Economic development has been a tenet of mine because obviously a healthy community has to have jobs. In my career, we've created tens of thousands of jobs over the time frame. I have a lot more to do, and we have a lot more to do. As I indicated, as some of my colleagues indicated earlier, we have to continue those smart growth policies. We have to have a diverse, stable housing stock. We have to have additional sports facilities and refresh our existing parks and facilities. We have to ensure that our development aligns with genuine neighborhood needs. And we have to do something with those 4 corners dying in malls and facilities. And we've got good policies over the last 4 years, and I want to be elected to continue those policies. You folks know me. You know that I have been a champion along with Councilmember Harris. We're the only 2 on the council that clearly supported an ordinance for the NDO. We're the only 2 on the council that has continued to push forward for equity, diversity, and inclusiveness in everything we do. We have 5 candidates. You heard from 2 other colleagues tonight. We have 2 other candidates that are in the race, and it's becoming quite partisan, my friends, which is very discouraging to me. And I spoke to you about this time, and as I spoke to you about this in the past. We really need to get away from this partisan politics. And like I said to you before, potholes are not Republican. They're not Democrats. Water coming out of the faucet is not conservative or not liberal. It's water. It's potholes. That's what we have to get back to, my friends. My website is www.matterorlando.com. Very simple website. And as I'm always transparent and open to speaking to any of you. And I look forward to walking with you, Jennifer and AJ again, and with the rest of my colleagues, and making a big difference for our communities. Thank you.
Thank you.
I did it again, brother.
Thank you, Matt. And thank you to all of our wonderful council candidates. And I hope that if you live in the city of Chandler, you take note of this particular race and make sure that you do vote. Again, as it's been pointed out in the chat, many times the August primary is what determines who takes the council seat, because is the person that gets 50% plus 1 of the votes cast. So please make sure that you participate in that primary, because if you don't, you may not get to be able to participate in any other election for Chandler City Council. So it's important you vote, and vote early, okay? All right, now we're going on at a local level to the Chandler Unified School District school board races. There will be 2 board seats available in this race, and we have 2 excellent ladies who have education backgrounds who are running for the seat and have collected signatures. Their race for signatures is a little later, so if you have not signed for either one or both, you can still do that. So we're going to start off first with Mary Lou Estes. Mary Lou, excuse me. Mary Lou is not here tonight. We had a mix-up on the date. She's in Washington, D.C. right now. So with that, we're going to default to Patti Serrano, okay, who will be presenting tonight, and we'll catch Mary Lou at the next May meeting. So, Patti.
Hi, everyone.
There you are.
Now, I will test and ask if you can see my screen.
Yes.
Excellent. All right. Well, good evening, everyone. It's been so good to see some of you in person over the past few weeks. My name is Patti Serrano, or Patti Serrano is when I was born, and I am running for our Chandler Unified School District Governing Board. This decision is very personal to me. I am a CUSD alum, graduated from our Hamilton High School back in 2001 when it was still considered new. And for the past 8+ years, I've been a mom in our district since Maximus started kindergarten at CTA Humphrey. He's now in 7th grade. And I'm rooted in Chandler community. We live in Colonia Precinct with our K-8 school up our street. And I have a strong history of solidarity with our educators here as my sister has been a teacher in CUSD for over 20 years. I know I have distinct ties to our district, ties that continually remind me of how much we love our district, choose it every day, and want to always do better by our community nucleuses, which are our schools. These past few years have been more than tough on all of us. Between handling of the pandemic and continual growing attacks on public education from our GOP-led state, our schools have been hit hard. Knowing there exists concerted efforts to dismantle public education that 95% of Arizonans like me choose is both frustrating and disappointing. But we have tools to do all we can to protect our public schools and do better. One of those tools is electing pro-public education candidates to our local school boards. I am that candidate for CUSD. As a mom, I get it, and I'm ready to bring representation to CUSD that prioritizes the best education we can offer at our schools for our children, our educators, staff, and community at large. This is a voluntary job, and I come with voluntary receipts, everyone. From submitting public comments, emails, attending school board meetings, collecting Prop 208 signatures, and organizing for pro-education support, that's me written all over. I also come with meaningful representation. Did you know that over half our student population identifies as minority today? Almost 30% identify as Latino. As a first-generation daughter of immigrants, electing a Serrano to our board would be progress. And we'll be dropping a link for you to see what our school demographics look like here. This is also a management job, and I come with project management receipts. As a project director in academic research and education advancing children's health, my professional skills directly translate to this job. Above all, I see this role as one of community commitment and listening. My strong ties to stakeholders and leaders will be a great benefit to serving our school board. Oops, sorry, y'all. Skipped over. Now, this campaign is absolutely rooted in us here together. That means I need your help. Please donate, sign my petition to get on that November ballot. This is nonpartisan. You won't see my name on the primary in August. Volunteer and spread word. We must elect pro-education candidates like me to our local school boards. We're drawing links to help in any of these ways now, and you can find us on Facebook at Serrano for Chandler, and be sure to like, follow, and share the page to help. We'll be making our website public soon, and we'll be sure to announce our official campaign launch event. I want to thank everyone here for the time. It's a little late on a Tuesday night, but thank you for your time. And most of all, thank you for supporting public education as long as you vote for a pro-education candidate. Thanks, everyone.
Great. Right on time.
Thank you, Patti. Thank you. Any questions for Patti in the chat? And I am not, let's see, not seeing any right now, but if you have a question for Patti, I'm sure if you put it in the chat, she'll be on for a little bit here and she can answer that. So with that, that's our scheduled slate of speakers. I just want to acknowledge that we have 3 other candidates that have been on tonight. We will get them on for future speaking, but at the LD level, we have 2 candidates who filed yesterday. Yesterday was a very big day in election world because again, if you are aware of how a candidate gets on a ballot, as you've heard tonight, every one of these people have had to go out and speak with their constituents and ask for a signature. That is the way we do it here in Arizona, unlike other places where people might just file, put their money down, and they're on the ballot. Arizona is funny that way. They would like our representatives to be in conversations with those that they seek to represent. So tonight we have two of the LD13 Senate candidates. They filed, they both made their petition requirements. We will have Michael Morris and Cindy Hans on next monthly meeting. We weren't sure just exactly the status. We did have one other candidate for Senate seat here in LD 13, and that was Jim Hinsey. He did not make the required minimum signatures to be on the ballot. So we will be only working with Cindy and Michael in a primary, which will be in August, and they will be back next month to give us more information. The other person who is on the, or has been, and I think she may still be on, maybe not, is Jennifer Germain. And again, for Chandler residents, Jennifer is running for the Justice of the Peace in the San Marcos District. And we will have Jennifer on at the next meeting as well, so you can hear more about her candidacy. So we invite you to come back to the next monthly meeting because we will be continuing to bring you those people you'll see on the ballot. Most important thing when you make a vote is to be educated. Educated to the issues and educated for who is representing your values on that ballot. So we've got a couple more months. We've got May, June, July, and our August meeting is primary night. So at that point in time, we'll be watching the returns coming in. So Paula, I'm going to turn it back to you for any final comments as chair.
Okay, so I'm hoping we'll be in person next month. I'm not sure. It could be a virtual meeting. Please feel free to invite a friend. We'd love to get the group growing and diversified. And so watch your email to find out where and when we'll be meeting. And that's all I have.